Hello, and welcome to our video on volume, mass, and density. Mass is a measure of the amount of matter in an object and is commonly measured in units of grams or kilograms, while volume measures the amount of space taken up by an object. Volume is usually measured in milliliters, liters, or cubic centimeters. Together, these quantities are used to find the density of an object. Density is a measure of how much matter is packed into a given space. In other words, density tells us how crowded the particles are in a substance. Imagine a brick and a pillow have the same mass. The pillow takes up a much greater space than the brick, so the volume of the pillow is much larger than the volume of the brick. This means the particles in the pillow are more spread out than those in the brick. The density of the brick is much greater than the pillows because the brick's particles are more closely packed together than those in the pillow. To calculate the density of the object, we need to know its mass and its volume. The formula for density is density equals mass divided by volume. So, if we know the mass and volume of an object, we can calculate its density. Let's look at an example. Suppose we have a block of wood that has a mass of 100 grams and a volume of 100 cubic centimeters. The density of the block of wood would be 100 grams divided by 100 cubic centimeters. That equals 1 gram per cubic centimeter. This means that there is 1 gram of wood for every cubic centimeter of space the wood occupies. Now, let's compare the density of the block of wood to the density of a block of iron with the same volume. If the iron block has a mass of 780 grams, its density would be 780 grams divided by 100 cubic centimeters equals 7.8 grams per cubic centimeter. This means that the iron block is much denser than the wood block. In other words, the iron block has its matter more closely packed together in the same amount of space. The density of a material can tell us a lot about its properties. For instance, materials with a high density are usually heavier than materials with a low density if they have the same volume. Density can also be used to identify materials. For examples, if you have 2 blocks of metal that look the same, you can determine which one is gold and which one is lead by measuring their densities. Gold is much denser than lead, so a block of gold would have a greater mass than a block of lead if both have the same volume, because gold is much denser than lead. I hope you enjoyed this presentation on density. Thank you for watching.